Welcome to Liminal Echoes, where we will dive into creepy stories, intriguing mysteries, and tales that are so strange they just might blur our perception of reality. I'm Kira.
And I'm Fox. Thank you for joining us for episode 40. Tonight's Echo takes us on an unusual adventure from the comfort of our couches, curled up with a mystery, to hunting across vast landscapes with elusive clues for real world treasure.
I'm so excited about this episode, just the way you've been teasing it. I don't want to guess, but well, I guess it's not really, but all I can think of, I know it's not the same, but Mist is all I think of. And I'm in their Reddit and they're doing new stuff, which is exciting. I thought you might find that interesting.
I will have to
I
check
think
that
one of
out.
them's creating another game. Yeah. But
Ooh.
first, let me remind our viewers that we are going to be live recording this episode as always. So I don't know why I'm singing. So we will have to wait to read your chats until after Fox finishes her story. On that note and rambling, let's get started.
Woohoo. All right. So, when I was growing up, people didn't like watch TV like we do now. It was a far more occasional activity. As kids, we of course watched Saturday morning cartoons and fought over who got to watch after school cartoons on the color TV instead of the black and white one. And in the evenings, only after dinner, we would gather to watch shows as a family or the evening news. It's nothing like today when you can watch literally anything that pops in your head at literally any time of day or night. So we we quite often would find other ways to entertain ourselves. And for me, who was not good at making friends, I loved the escape that books provided, an exciting and immersive journey into worlds unknown. I loved anything adventurous and fantastical, from choose your own adventure books to Narnia and Lord of the Rings. And if I started a book, I had to finish it, whether I liked it or not. Lonesome Dove took me ages to get through. But one book from my childhood still lingers in my mind, and often wondered about it, but I'd never looked it up until recently. It's called Masquerade by Kit Williams. This book was short, about 30 pages, and not something I'd normally have ever picked up but it was a gift, and probably from my granddad, who we affectionately called Papa Daddy, who was a teacher and adamant that we read and read often. He nearly always gave me books for any holiday, but they were usually novels, so this thin, childlike book, but beautifully illustrated book was an interesting surprise.
I could see that. What was so unique about it that it was worth gifting to you?
So this wasn't just a normal book, it was a treasure map. Within its pages were hidden clues to a treasure findable in the real world. A puzzle in words and pictures that, if solved, could bring you not only a unique prize, but the notoriety of being the one to successfully decipher its mystery. Kit Williams, the writer and artist, wanted the art in his books to be as appreciated as the words. He asked himself, quote, "How could you make people look at those paintings and look and look and look again?" Unquote. So, aiming for a broad but magical appeal, he brought his vision to life. The multi-layered riddle hidden within the paintings and text, he famously said, could be solved by anyone from a quote Oxford Don to an observant, smart 12-year-old, unquote. The book was released in 1979. It is a whimsical picture book that follows a rabbit named Jack Hare, a messenger tasked by Lady Moon to deliver a magnificent jewel as a gift of love to the sun. Jack travels through, Jack travels the length and breadth of the earth, air, fire, and water. But unfortunately, somewhere along the way, he loses the precious gift. The story encompasses 15 hyper realistic paintings. Among the words and paintings, there are clues to a treasure. When properly deciphered, they reveal the exact location of a physical, handcrafted, 18-karat gold hare, or rabbit, made by Williams that he had secretly buried.
My God.
It was, at the time, it was valued at £5,000, which in America, well, that today that would be 32,000 pounds or $43,000, basically. But this book sparked the genre known as armchair treasure hunts.
Do you still
'Cause
have the book?
I wish to God that I did because it is worth so much more now than it was when I had it. Uh,
I bet.
initially, when it came out, it was about $5 or, well, £5 in the English people world, but here it was about $10. I looked it up on Amazon a few days ago, and it's over $70 right now,
Jesus. Yeah, I would
which
say that's a little marked up.
yeah, I mean, you can find it at used
It's so
sites.
pretty.
Yeah, it is beautiful. He handcrafted that, like,
So I'm
with his
confused. How is it 5,000 pounds, but also handcrafted? I don't get to craft things and then call them 5,000 pounds.
so he
Doesn't feel fair.
he he got 5,000 pounds from his publisher to buy the materials to make it. So that doesn't even include his labor. That's just how much it costs for him to get the materials to make
Oh, I had no idea.
this trinket. And
I didn't even know
it's
there was
quite
gonna be a semi-answer to that.
yeah, and it's quite large. It's like the rabbit part of it itself is almost the size of my hand. So that's a pretty good size critter. And it has like its eye is a ruby. It has sapphires, lapis lazuli, I believe, and I think aquamarine. But other than that, the chain, the little bells that like I said, he handcrafted every single part of it. Everything is 18 karat gold.
And there's a frog.
Yes. No, that's a rabbit. But there's
There's a
no.
frog
That
underneath it.
that's a frog. Yes. I saw your arrow,
And then
your
there's a
name.
rat
Uh,
or a
yes.
mouse
Red
and a
mouse.
sparrow, I think,
Yeah.
and a
And
moon with a face
that's the
on one
that's the
side.
moon and that's the sun down there.
The sun has
All
its
the
own face. The moon
yes.
is carrying a face.
But at any rate, um, you can still find copies on used book sites and places like eBay for a far more reasonable rate. Uh, but yeah, I think that its fame had quite a bit to do with the markup.
Right.
But let me paint you a picture of what the Masquerade actually did to people, because calling it popular just doesn't come close to capturing it. The book sold its entire first print run of 60,000 copies almost immediately, like within days. It became Britain's best-selling book of 1979. It was translated into multiple languages across Europe, America, Japan, and Australia. A special edition was written just for the Italian folks, and a separate prize was buried in Italy. Uh, that version was published in March 1981 and was solved just over a year later in 1982 by a 41-year-old woman named Carla Vignola. So she was super fast with that one. But Williams began receiving hundreds of letters every single day from puzzle enthusiasts, from art lovers, obsessives who had convinced themselves that they had cracked the code, and one from a priest who wrote in to ask if the book contained any occult messages.
Calm down.
And even people who showed up on Williams' doorstep at 3 a.m.
I'm sorry. 3 a.m. And also, real quick, did it, when it was released, was it said immediately that it was a puzzle, so like a real world treasure?
Yes, yes, and I meant to
Okay.
include the news article because there were several news articles that published clues to help you figure out some of the riddle.
I was just confused because I'm like, why did this children's book immediately blow up? Like, what was it incredible? And it sounds like the art, of course, mainly was incredible. But
Yes.
that makes
The
sense
art
now.
is
If it was released with the premise already there instead of, I thought someone discovered it, like realized that there was a puzzle.
no, it is noted on the back cover that it is a puzzle book and that that treasure is what you will find. There's a picture of the treasure. That picture is actually the one that's on the back of the book, or it was on the back of the book that
Oh,
I had.
wow.
Um, but the page before that, the image is actually one of the pages from the book. You can see, I don't know how well y'all can see it if you're watching, but if you look it up, you'll be able to see. But this is the first of the images, And the hill right here, and I don't know if you can see my pointer, I don't think you can,
An
but
animal.
there is a there is a hare in every image that he painted. And in this image, it's the mountain, right? Or this hill, whatever, is is the rabbit. And then you can see the field mice down here. And then you can see that there's some of the letters are red. Some of them have these little hash marks, like the O and of down here at the bottom.
And the
And
G.
yes. So
How
and
strange.
yeah, so there's just little things you're like, why is it like that? You know? But we'll get into that in a little bit. So yes, 3 in the morning. These people were crazy, crazy obsessed with finding this treasure. And it's for me, it's wild because it's not even about uh the value at that point. I think it was just people just really wanted to know if they had figured it out, you know?
I
So
would
it
they should,
wasn't
like, plant a flag where the thing was so that people find it, they find it.
well, they couldn't do that, but we'll get
Mm,
to the why in a little while.
damn it.
It wasn't just it wasn't just letters and doorstep visits. People physically went out and started digging up the English countryside. Parks, private gardens, historic estates, anywhere the paintings seemed to depict a real location. So, sorry, I lost my place. Where was I? Relocation. Someone with a shovel would show up. One location called Haresfield Beacon became so
Ah,
overrun with diggers that Williams personally paid for a sign to be erected there, announcing that the treasure was definitely not buried nearby. But even
that's
that
crazy.
didn't stop people. People were still digging up there even despite the sign. Hunters got stuck halfway up cliffs following hunches. Some were apprehended by police for trespassing on historical properties. The real life locations depicted in the paintings, like Sudbury Hall in Derbyshire and Tewkesbury in Gloucestershire, were searched so thoroughly that the sites themselves became famous by association.
Just, like, this little children's book just basically led to a national incident, a mini hiker's version of a riot.
Right. No, a beautifully slightly chaotic and very British national incident. The thing that I find so fascinating about it, though, is that the actual solution was hiding in plain sight the entire time. And it took 2 physics teachers named Mike Barker and John Rousseau to crack it properly. Spoiler alert, if you don't wanna know how they solved it, skip ahead about 20 seconds. Uh, but they realized that you had to draw lines from the eyes of each character in each painting through their longest finger, and then those lines would point to specific letters around the edge of the page. And then those letters, when you put them together, spelled out a riddle. And then that riddle, once it was solved, described a very specific place, Ampthill Park in Bedfordshire, where Catherine of Aragon's memorial cross cast a shadow like a sundial at noon on the spring equinox. The hare was buried at the tip of that shadow.
That's wild and so specific, and I was just looking at the lines, and I'm like, "How did
Mhm.
you decide which foot you were
So
going to follow?"
so if it was the left eye, then it's the left foot. And if so you draw the line from the left eye of the creature
There
to the
too.
left foot of the creature, and then that takes you to one letter. And then if you go from the right eye to the right foot, takes you to a letter. If you take it from the left eye to the left rear foot, it takes you to another one. So for each creature, you could get 4 letters.
Right. Okay. I see. I see.
Uh, Go back so people can see what I was talking about.
'Cause I
Yeah.
was
So
like, "There are 4 feet, though."
yes,
And,
yeah. So
so
like
I see.
the yellow lines, I think, go from the left eye to the left rear foot. and then the red one
How
would
would
be
you
from
ever figure that out?
I know, isn't that crazy? I mean, I mean, to have it perfectly lined up so that it prints properly on the page.
Well, and, like, how to even because if you were one paw off on the bottom right one,
Mhm.
it would go it would go to O
Yeah.
for one of them. That's a huge difference from E.
Yep.
Or it could have been X or T instead of S. Crazy.
Pretty wild. Well, like
Yeah.
this blue line down here, it goes from on the mouse, goes from its eye to its foot. I would have thought that's S, but they have it drawn all the way to the F,
Yeah, I guess it's to the edge of the page.
I suppose.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
means that
it must
the
be.
red on the left side could be
Is
easily C or S.
yeah, it's tricky. Very tricky. But
Before we get like way too I'm already too far into it, so we gotta go. We gotta keep going.
okay. So, uh we're looking at the cross now, picture 8. So Williams had promised it was findable to within a few inches, and he wasn't exaggerating. As Barker and Rousseau did find it, or at least they did identify the exact spot and arrived at Ampthill Park on February 18th in 1982 to dig. They noticed a slight depression in the earth where they had intended to dig, which suggested that someone had already been there, and recently. They were right.
So,
By the So by the time they arrived, the treasure was already gone. Sorry, what were you gonna
was it
say?
stolen or was that Lady Carolyn or whatever or Carla? Or no, that was the Italian one that Carla
Yeah,
saw.
that was the Italian one that was solved. Um,
Did someone just find it?
well, technically, it kinda was stolen, so let me explain. That
Okay.
part of the story is really sad, and it's really frustrating to me, as I'm sure it was to the author. But there is a person named Ken Thomas who claimed the treasure. He didn't solve the riddles, which came out
Mm.
later. He found the treasure with the assistance of the author's ex-girlfriend.
No,
Yes, and
bitch.
in reality, it wasn't even him who discovered it, but another man named John Gart, who was living with Williams's ex and had convinced Thomas to be the face of the discovery to avoid Gard's connection with the author coming to light. And that wasn't their only lie. It was later discovered that Ken Thomas was an alias.
What is this bitch getting into? First of all, fuck you for
Yeah,
telling your ex-boyfriend's secrets, especially for something I just bitched about this before we even started. Where's people's whimsy?
I
Chill
know.
out, just enjoy things. Fuck. God,
Well, so it's even
I'm
more
so mad.
toxic than that because the whole reason he chose that location was because he went there with her, and, she was with him when he buried it. That's why she knew where it was.
I had a feeling that was the case.
Yeah. I'm like, "She sucks." But anyway, I didn't even write about her because I was so mad about that.
Yes, fuck her. Not a
But
fan.
anyway, just wait because what happens next is almost darkly comic and very, what is the word I'm looking for? Karmic.
Ah,
Ken Thomas and AKA Dugald Thompson, I too would have changed my
ugh,
name,
dude,
and his
God, this is so unfortunate. What is your name? It sounds like you're choking on something. Dukov. Like, only because he's a dick.
truly,
That's so
yes.
funny. But also your parents are assholes
Yes.
if they name you
So
Dugald.
Dugald and his cohort John Gard founded a software company called Haresoft in 1984, and hare like the rabbit, Hare, because haha. Anyway, so they founded this company, software company in 1984, and they used the golden hare as the prize in the computer game called Hare Raiser.
What the fuck?
Yeah. By which all accounts was completely unsolvable and contained nothing but meaningless graphics and text. This is a screenshot from the game.
Very
if you're
beautifully
watching.
done.
Yes. I love the pink trees and the little pink cloud.
I'm being sarcastic to anyone who can't see the slide. It's
Yes.
bullshit.
It is a very OG 2-bit, but it looks like somebody made it on paint in 1984. Just
Right.
it's very much of the
I was gonna
time.
say it looks like a kid's painting for the most part. Like the hare rabbit is probably better than a kid could draw, but I mean otherwise it looks a lot like a
Just a kid
kid's drawing.
drawing. Right.
Mhm.
Well, the company failed spectacularly. When Hairsoft went into liquidation just 4 years later in 1988,
Ah,
The Masquerade hare had to be sold to pay the debts, and it was sold at auction, and that's when journalists from the Sunday Times started asking questions about why the new owners were so desperate to liquidate it. Their whole deception began to unravel. Thompson's real identity was exposed, and Williams went on record saying how he'd felt completely conned.
so the
And
physics teachers didn't get anything?
no, nothing except knowledge that they were right. They
This is a big
were
deal.
eventually acknowledged as the true solvers of the puzzle, but the hare was already gone. So Barker and Rousseau solved one of the most elaborate puzzles in publishing history, arrived at the right spot, found someone else had already dug there, and walked away empty-handed through absolutely no fault of their own. But that's part of the Masquerade story that lingers for me. The brilliance of the puzzle, it and deserved just a better ending.
I think they could have at least made something for them or like a certificate saying like you solved this puzzle thing. And
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah, I
like they
don't
got ripped off and it could have been rectified to some extent. It didn't just have to be a shitty ending for them.
Yeah, and Williams was so passionate about it. Like he just like he wanted people to appreciate the art so badly that was his whole
Hmm.
purpose in creating this whole thing was to get people
Right.
to take a longer look at artwork. And if you look at some of his newer stuff that he even painted in the 20 years after this, it all of it has like this crazy mechanics where if you look at it from this angle, it looks like a completely different you get a different perspective than if you look at it from this way. And then some of his paintings have like these crazy mechanics that you have to flip a switch to open this panel to make the rest of the painting appear. And it's just
It's fascinating.
he's just a super creative. If you haven't seen any of his work besides even if you only go see this, but definitely look up his other works because he has some really amazing stuff out there. Um, but at any rate, it as I said, it went to auction and it sold at auction for £31,900 in December of
Oh my
1988.
god. It
And
looks
that's roughly
gorgeous in this picture.
yes. And that's roughly £146,144 in today's market, or
Oh my god.
for those of us in the US, $192,877. But it passed into private hands, out of sight for nearly 20 years, as did Williams. He was heartbroken and disillusioned by the overwhelming response his book and the resulting betrayal. His peaceful life had been turned upside down by the publicity of the book. I mean, obviously, with all the letters and people showing up at his doorstep. But while
Right.
he did continue painting, he avoided the public and held private viewings and shows by invitation only. And then in 2009, to mark the 30-year anniversary of his landmark work, he agreed to participate in a Radio 4 program to mark the milestone. The current owner of the Golden Hare at the time, a resident of the Middle East, heard the broadcast promoting the event and offered for it to be displayed at the exhibition.
Oh, that's
The, B-
awesome.
the BBC's documentary, The Man Behind the Masquerade, which explores the life and works of Kit Williams, was there to record the reuniting of the unique piece of art and its creator, much to the delight and surprise of the event's attendees, because the
That's
people that
so
were
cool.
coming to this event had no idea. And there were
That's so
people
cool.
there who had participated in the hunt in the very beginning when the book first came out, and they're like, and they realized what had happened. They're like, we're never going to actually get to see it physically. And then it was unveiled at this event. I mean, I teared up watching the documentary. I'm kind of
Yeah.
choking up a little bit now just talking about it because it's so, I mean, it was really emotional to see him because this was the first time in 20 years that he had been reconnected with it since he buried the thing. Or
And
so,
it is huge. Like,
right.
so on this image, it's being hung as a necklace, and what is that called? The mannequin style stand that is for
Right.
necklaces. It's like going across most of the breast, like
Yeah, it's
from at
I think
least
it's about
collarbone to collarbone.
yeah, I think it's about 6 inches across. And then overall probably, 4 or 5 inches tall. So it is a significant piece.
Not something I would actually wear as a necklace.
No, no, definitely not.
That would be a. You're also jingling. I just remembered those are actual
Ding,
bells
ding,
at the
ding.
bottom. So you're
Yes.
just like
Handcrafted
maybe if,
bells.
especially like a decent endowed woman is like jingling around every bounce, just making music.
Bringing her own jams.
Yes.
Anyway, so the information about who the owner was never revealed, and it sold again at auction just a few months ago in November of 2025 to a private
What?
yes, to a private UK collector. This time it sold for 82,550 pounds, which is $109,000 in the US. But that's where the masquerade ends. The treasure lying in a private cache and the artist's private life restored.
I'm mad because I feel like if I bought it for that much money and I had stupid money to blow on it, that I would give it to at least one of the physicists. Hello, words are hard. And I realized it sold for less than it was
Valued at?
being auctioned for, valued at in 1988.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Well, so in '88 it sold for 31,000 pounds, which was roughly what it the value of that, which is about $82,000 is what it would have been worth now. So, but it's still,
You put
yeah, slightly under.
192,000.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. So about half the
Yeah.
value. So they got a
Yeah.
deal.
Right. That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes me mad. I wish that if I had dumb money, I feel like I'd do right by people.
Yeah, I think that
I
maybe
do
at
that now
least put
without
it on
money.
I think at least, like, put it on a museum tour so people could come and see it, you know?
Right. Maybe even have a whole Williams exhibit in a
Yeah,
museum somewhere and have that as part of it.
but, unfortunately, so many of his paintings are privately owned that it's you would have to coordinate with a bunch of people. Like, even for the 20th anniversary or 30th, whatever it was, um, they had to all of his paintings that were at that event were had to be brought in from private collectors because everything that he had painted in the last 20 years had already been sold. So, it was a
That's wild.
but they do that often, then they'll have all the paintings and works of the person come together, and then they'll do, like, a tour of museums, and I think that that would be an awesome thing. That is an event I definitely would go to because his work is just outrageous
That would be really fun.
and really worth seeing. But, yeah, so it's hiding again in somebody else's private cache now, and somewhere Kit Williams is still painting, still building elaborate clockwork mechanisms and U-hedge mazes as he is wont to do. Still creating things that require you to look carefully and think deeply. He doesn't just bury them anymore. Masquerade opened a
Smart.
door that had never closed. Almost immediately, publishers and authors began asking themselves, what if we did that? What if we hid something real inside the pages of a book and sent the world looking for it? The first major answer to that question came from America in 1982. The same year the golden hare was being dug up, under false pretenses in Bedfordshire, a New York author named Byron Preiss published a book called The Secret, A Treasure Hunt.
Very subtle.
And if Masquerade was a single elegant puzzle hidden in a small, beautiful book, the secret was something much more ambitious. 12 treasures, 12 cities across North America, hidden simultaneously.
I don't even know how you begin planning something like that, and I did cicada. I did the
Yeah,
cicada episode. I
right.
just real quick though, the tale of the fair people,
Mhm.
they're like the tale of the extra white people. Is that what that means?
No. It
Are the
means,
fair
like,
people like just? They're fair and just?
they're very
I
just
think the
no.
image is misleading. I'm
Well, let me
confused what that
continue
means.
and we'll talk about it.
Eh.
Priest Priest spent the better part of a year traveling across the country with a shovel in hand and reportedly various disguises, burying small ceramic casks 2 feet underground in parks and public spaces across 12 cities. Inside each cask was a ceramic key. Find the cask, retrieve the key, mail it to Byron Preiss, and he would send you a precious gemstone in return, valued at approximately $1,000 each.
Mm.
The book itself tells the story of the fair people goblins, fairies, sprites, dragons, and the like who fled the old world 300 years ago looking for a safe haven from the world of men. They brought their treasures with them, and those treasures are still out there, hidden in the landscape of North America, just waiting. The clues are embedded in 12 paintings by artist John Jude Palancar. Elaborate, richly detailed fantasy illustrations, along with 12 cryptic verses of poetry. But here's the twist the paintings and the verses are deliberately scrambled throughout the book. They're not presented in matching pairs. Part of the puzzle is figuring out which paintings belong to which verse. Once you correctly match them, the combined imagery points you to a specific city and then to a specific location within that city. Each painting contains hidden references to immigrant communities that shaped that city's history. Hidden birth flowers and birthstones, even references to latitude and longitude.
So
You
it's
can
a very multifaceted puzzle.
absolutely. And you can see here the paintings are absolutely beautiful. I mean, his work is just as intriguing as John Williams, wrong wrong Williams, Kit Williams
Yeah.
is who I meant. Kit Williams.
Other
John Williams
talented
also has
individual.
amazing work, but it's musical. But yes,
It's
exactly.
the fair people. I didn't know that that was something that fantasy creatures were called.
They're more often referred to as the Fae. But
Right,
yeah,
that's what I've
like
heard.
fairy, I think is where they get fair from. So the fairy
Oh,
people.
interesting.
Any rate, Priest genuinely believed that people would solve this quickly. He thought the whole thing would be wrapped up just a few months, and he couldn't have been more wrong.
Well,
The first cask was found rather quickly in 1983, just under a year after publication by a group of teenagers in Chicago's Grant Park. They correctly identified the fifth painting and the 12th verse as the Chicago pair. Notice that the windmill tower in the painting was actually the Chicago water tower depicted with windmills at it, and they started digging. They called Priest when they couldn't find the exact spot, and he mailed them a photograph of freshly patted down earth. That photo was their map. One of the boys threw his shovel in frustration at one point, and the impact caused a slab of dirt to fall away, revealing the corner of the box. They were awarded with an emerald that was valued at $1,000.
that's wild.
Yep. I thought that was pretty cool, though. You just out there digging and getting mad, and you throw your shovel, and oh, there it is.
Yeah. That's like in a game when you get a hint, it's like, "Hey, you're really close. Have you thought of looking at this thing?" It's
Right?
like you're like, "Oh,
The,
okay."
the little arrow pops up. Ding, 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 ding.
Right. It's like glitter. You're like,
That
"What are the
way.
sparklies about?"
I don't know. But then, nothing. For over 20 years, no solutions came. The second cask wasn't found until 2004. Two lawyers from New Jersey spent years working on the Cleveland puzzle and finally located the cask buried in the Greek Cultural Gardens at Rockefeller Park. One of them had a flash of insight about the orientation of a flower bed and realized that facing away from it flipped the directions in the verse. So they dug on the opposite side, and there it was. Then another 15 years passed before the third one was found in Boston in 2019. And this one almost didn't happen. A game designer named Jason Krupet, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his last name. I apologize. I forgot to look it up. At any rate, Jason had correctly identified Langone Park and Boston's North End as the location. But the park was in the middle of a massive renovation.
Oh no.
Construction construction crews were actively digging.
Didn't mean it.
He was
He's
desperately
like,
trying to
wait.
Yeah, he was desperately trying to alert the site foreman that there might be something important buried there, but the foreman dismissed him. Krupik gave him his phone number, sent emails explaining what the cask would look like if excavated, and then waited. Months later, workers digging up a baseball diamond hit something. Shards of plexiglass and ceramic in the dirt. Surprisingly, the foreman called Krupet.
Holy
They
shit.
found they found and dug up what remained of the cask, and inside it, miraculously intact, was the ceramic key. Krupet was awarded with a peridot, which is a little green gemstone, and the whole discovery was featured on an episode of Expedition Unknown on the Discovery Channel, which brought an enormous new wave of attention to the hunt.
Did the TV show bring like everyone to their own?
Yeah, so it started a whole new wave of like people buying the book and then starting the search all over again. So it was really crazy. But yeah, so in a huge way, a whole new generation discovered the secret because of this episode. Online communities exploded. People who'd never heard of the book suddenly had theories. And it renewed the urgency around the remaining cast because of something deeply unsettling that happened with the Boston one had made very clear. The casks, one, are destructible, and, you know, cities are always changing. The Boston one had been partially shattered by an excavator. It just barely survived.
Do we know of any others that didn't survive?
No, we don't know of any that haven't survived, but um, we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
When so New Orleans, as everyone knows, was devastated by Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which is one of the cities. Excuse me. New York City has undergone constant construction and renovation since the 80s. Cities change, parks disappear, foundations get poured. Things buried just 2 feet underground in 1982 don't necessarily survive 40 plus years of urban development.
Right, which is sad. I
Yes.
was worried about that too. I was like, what if there's a Burger King on top of it?
Right? Yeah, it truly is unsettling. And what makes it truly haunting is that Byron Preiss died in a car accident in 2005 at just 52 years old.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and he kept no records of. Sorry, my brain forgot how to function there for a second. He kept no written record of where any of the casks were buried.
What the
And
fuck?
he was apparently the only person on Earth who knew the precise location of all 12 casks. His family, however, continues to honor the terms of the hunt. The gems are still in a safe deposit box, still waiting to be claimed, but they don't know where the casks are. John Jude Palancar, the artist who painted all of the clues, has stated clearly that he cannot help. Priest kept even him entirely in the dark about the locations. So what you have is a treasure hunt where the map exists, the treasure is real, the prizes are still available, and the only person who could have confirmed whether you solved it is gone. But there are still 9 casks somewhere out there right now. The cities have been identified: San Francisco, Houston, Milwaukee, New York City, New Orleans, Charleston, St. Augustine, Roanoke, and Montreal. Some of them may still be intact and findable. Some may already be lost to time and construction, and there is no way to know for certain until someone digs one up.
I'm so mad that there's not one in St. Louis. What the heck? I'd be out
Well,
there tomorrow.
if we ever go back home to Houston, we can go dig.
Right. Going on a vacation. What to do what?
To dig
Horrible.
a hole
This
around
is
my old
treasure.
city.
Yes, it's going to be awful. We're gonna go in the winter so we don't die. But
Yes, we just
it's
have to call the cops ahead of time so we don't get arrested for digging up a digging a hole to bury. We're not burying anything. We're looking for something.
we're trying to unbury something. It's not a body. Um, this is all really beautiful and also frustrating, and I'm
Mhm.
glad it still has some mystery, but it doesn't sound like it's as precise as Williams. 'Cause Williams was down to within a few inches, he said. This one
Right.
seems like in a relative area.
Yeah. Some of the maps, I
Does it
think, because so you have the clues, and I looked at some of the maps that people had created from, like, the one in, that the lawyers found in Boston. It was in, like I said, the Garden Cultural Center, so it was buried within the garden that was like a like one of those gardens that's gonna be there forever.
right, no way someone's letting you dig in them.
Right. So so I imagine that the directions would have to be very specific as to not disturb the garden itself or wherever whatever the place might be. Like the kids in Chicago, I think theirs was in a park too. I'm like, you're just digging up random holes in a park. It was just causing the same catastrophe that was going on in England with the Kit Williams book. But anyway, it is very sad. That, there's no way to know for certain other than to accidentally come across it or to actually solve the clue and figure out where it is. The community that has developed around the secret is still extraordinarily active, though. There are dedicated forums, YouTube channels, Discord servers full of people comparing theories and sharing new interpretations of the paintings and verses. People have dedicated years of their lives to this. The hunt didn't end with Preiss. In some ways, his death made it more urgent, more alive, because now there's a clock that wasn't there before. Well, I don't think there's a clock anymore because he's gone.
That's pretty sad.
But
Well, I wonder if there's worry that the family beyond who is handling it now will
mhm,
continue because they could easily just be like, "I'm just gonna sell these or have these or put them in rings and jewelry and
right.
whatnot instead."
Yeah,
Um,
and they are within their rights to do so because even apparently he didn't even leave a will about it. So they're just doing it
there
out of
are
to honor his memory.
Did I tell you that puzzler is a real job? You can
Mhm,
be hired, yeah, as a master puzzler. And I often bring up Sea of Thieves because they're the most known to do this. So Sea of Thieves is a video game where you're basically just a pirate out on the sea. And
mhm.
I, I don't know that it's actually classified as open world, but I say it's pretty freaking open world. And you sail around and there are puzzles within the game too that you can do with there are riddles to help you find certain things. You don't have to play that way. A lot of people just shoot other people's pirate ships. But anyway, I know they did one several years ago that was like it's like an international hunt and it had clues hidden in their social media and in the game and in like certain news events or something that was going on.
Wow.
Like current events are related. It was insane, but it was one of the number one master puzzlers. I'm pretty sure that was the job title was or like title was master puzzler, which is a cool title. So I always wonder when there are things like this, do they feel like, well, I'm not allowed to participate because I'm an expert, like Do people
I don't
have
know.
some sort of moral high ground that keeps them from? Because surely one of
I don't
them
know.
could do it.
I'm just looking at this clock image and it says one corner says
19.
19, the other's 29, and the one down here says 90. And
Saw
then
that
it's at
too.
noon. Preservation. I'm curious. And then there's an arrow going both ways around the clock. It's fantastic. And how do you relate how you want the painting to, like what elements you want in the painting to appropriately correlate to your poem to be a clue? I mean, it's mind-boggling to just try wrap your head around that part of it. Like, how did they get there? You know?
It I know this is a really weird connection, but it reminds me of H. Holmes because no one knew the full product. So
It's Crazy
everyone
House.
had a part in this so everyone had a part in this crazy hotel that was, like, his murder hotel, and no one knew what it was to become and what it was because everyone only had a little bit of information,
Right.
and no one was even getting paid really, so they were
Yes, there
starting a
was
little
that.
work and then being like, "You're not paying me," and he's like, "Ah, fire you anyway," and then a bunch of people were dying left and right. It was a mess, but I think that's pretty common is they'll have many people work on it in
Mhm.
ways that seem small and not give them all the information. But a painting, I struggle with because I don't believe that he doesn't understand any of them. Or because how do you like did you just
Yeah.
paint something and then you were like, "Oh, I guess I'll make this work." Like I'll figure
Well,
out how to
I would imagine that he probably told the artist, "Okay, I need these specific things to be elements hidden within your painting."
Mhm.
But then but knowing that that's the case and what of those things, I mean, but he doesn't know what or if any of those things are, like, red herrings and how they correlate to the poem, because you also have to decipher the poem,
Right.
and then take clues from the poem and from the painting to figure out the specific place and, all that, so it's really fascinating, and one day when I get bored, I might actually look into it, but for the moment.
Just look at it for like an hour or 2 or like a 12-hour
What's
ADHD focus moment.
what's funny is that in writing this, I realized that this is also one of the books that my granddad gave me. Isn't that
Oh,
wild?
that's crazy.
Yeah. But it really is haunting, and I hope that the rest of his treasures are found someday. But now, from America, let's go back across the Atlantic to New Zealand. This time, and to a book that takes the armchair treasure hunt in a direction none of its predecessors had attempted. In 1998, author and illustrator Jonathan Gunson published The Merlin Mystery. And I need to start out by telling you about the prize because it was unlike anything in the genre before or since.
What was it?
This case, it was a jeweled wand of alchemy and 75,000 pounds in gold, which is approximately $124,000 US.
I don't know why that gave me goosebumps. I was just like, "That sounds so pretty," and then, "And the money."
But here's what makes it extraordinary. The prize didn't start out at 75,000 pounds. It grew to that. Gunson added gold to a vault for every copy of the book that sold. So the more people who bought it, the more the prize was worth. It was an incentive that built on itself. The bigger the community of hunters, the bigger the reward they were chasing.
Or just bigger savings account for this guy. He's like, "This is a trust for my children and great-grandchildren and whatnot." It's like, "So if y'all fuck up and y'all don't get it, then someone's going to
Mm.
college."
And if you're watching, you can see on the back of the
It's
book
genius, though.
there is a picture of the wand, which is beautiful. Yes, this is the wand. We're petting it with our
I know,
paws. I
Well,
don't know why we
so
felt the
because I
need to
could
do
see
that.
yours.
Yes.
I could see yours, so I keep trying to follow your cursor so that they could see it on yours.
That's so funny. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, the more people that bought the book, the more money that you could make. So, uh, the book itself is a beautiful and genuinely strange object. It tells the love story of Merlin and Nimue, an enchanted water sprite, and their battle against dark wizards for control of the alchemist's wand. It was certified by Mensa, translated into 7 languages, and was designed to be solved by the most dedicated puzzle minds in the world. Each of the 22 double-page spreads is bordered by 48 squares, and those pages are absolutely chaotic with imagery. Thousands of tiny objects hidden throughout. Playing cards, runes, zodiac signs, witch hats, town criers, clocks, moon and stars layered over each other in a dense visual language that rewards the patient, meticulous study. Some of the clues are in the text, some of the clues are in the illustrations, some are in the relationship between the two. The challenge wasn't to find a physical location and go dig. The challenge was to decode the illustrations, identify the alchemist's spell, determine the method of casting it, draw out your own solution, and then send it to the publisher in London.
What?
Yes, it was quite complicated.
They said this one's remote. No one's gonna be accidentally telling their ex-girlfriend and them or having an ex-girlfriend spill the beans or anything.
And no digging up
I
private properties.
Right. I can't think about what draw out your own solution would even look like. Like, you want me to do what? You want me to photocopy this and then circle things and draw underline shit and what does that
Yeah, I
mean?
guess.
Or draw the wizard guy, you draw Merlin and then draw him
He's
like,
standing over
here's his
here.
wand.
Just hold
Yeah.
it at
Bad
exactly
guy's
48
here.
degrees.
Right. Here's my protractor. And then here's the dragon over here. It's like, it's crazy. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
So, but it was entirely an armchair puzzle. I mean, you just needed your brain and a lot of curiosity, I guess, to sit down and try to
And Google
figure it
now.
out. Sure now, but uh this sounds more accessible, but in practice, it made it, if anything, significantly harder because there's no physical world to anchor you, no landmark to recognize, no city to narrow it down, just the pages and your own reasoning and however many hours you're willing to pour into it. 30,000 entries were submitted over the 3-year period of the contest. 30,000 puzzle enthusiasts, Mensa members, academics, dedicated obsessives from 7 different countries attempted to crack it. Not one of them got it right.
But does got it right mean that you didn't get any of it? And or are they saying you have to like tick every single box perfectly? That's
I
crazy that not one person.
I don't know, I suppose, but, they s they s nobody gave him the answer he was looking for, apparently. So, among 30,000 attempts over 3 years, nobody got it. So then the
What?
competition closed, and the $75,000 prize, or £75,000 prize, was donated to the World Wildlife Fund, not his grandkids. And the
Yeah, I was
solution
wrong.
to the Merlin mystery was never publicly released.
So nobody has the answer?
Just the author. He still knows the answer, obviously, and he's
I would like
chosen
him to
in
write it down before he
right.
dies.
Could you tell me, please? And he has chosen in the years since the competition closed not to reveal it. The puzzle exists in this extraordinary suspended state, the mystery with a solution that simply hasn't been shared. There are online communities still actively working it, still convinced they're close, but the book is still in print. You can buy it and attempt what 30,000 people couldn't solve in an active competition with £75,000 on the line, but I find the Merlin mystery genuinely one of the most haunting entries in this genre, not because the prize was stolen like Masquerade, and not because the creator died like The Secret, but because it was just simply too difficult. 30,000 minds looked at it and came up empty. The puzzle defeated everyone who attempted it, and it sits there still, intact, unsolved, and waiting. That feels very appropriate for a book about Merlin. There's something very wizard about constructing a puzzle that's so perfect that no one can crack it, and then just keeping the secret.
It was very, very Merlin-y. But I do wonder, I find myself often wondering, is a puzzle that you cannot solve a shitty puzzle? Or
I
like
think so.
that's like is I agree. And because I think that takes away a lot of the fun. I get it. But sometimes there is no actual line of thinking. Like, what if this person's just very ADHD and it's like when we have a conversation
Mhm.
and we'll start on like cheese and then suddenly we're talking about this weird abstract incident that happened 1,000 years ago. And it's like, how'd you get that? I don't know. I have no idea. Like it's been 10 minutes. I could not tell you. Um,
I've made 15 turns since the beginning in here, so I don't know.
but no one could follow that. No one would make the connections that we make. So, but that's not a puzzle, but that is what makes a puzzle.
Yeah, and I'm
So
sure to
at what point
him
is it just a shitty puzzle?
part of it is that he created a puzzle that is so fantastic. To him, it probably makes sense. But
Exactly.
if you don't think, like you said, if you don't think exactly the way he does, then you probably won't ever figure it out. So, and if he's looking for an exact answer, uh, then who knows, or if he's ever going to receive it. And I'm curious too, like you said, because I mean, he's also up there in age. If is he going to leave it in his will so that the answer will someday be revealed, or if somebody actually finds the right answer, it'll be revealed? I don't know.
Or leave it with the wand. Just write it down, put it with the wand,
Yeah,
and that way you know it's there. And if someone finds it, they at least get the wand.
that would be nice.
That would be very cool.
Huh,
Not doing that would be very uncool.
true. But I'd like to end this with something a little different, because everything we've discussed so far has either been solved through cheating, lost to time, or defeated every person who's ever attempted it. And I thought you deserved to leave here with something you can actually do something about.
Thank you.
In 20 in 2021, during the pandemic, an author named David Jacobson published a book called The Mad Tea Party. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a collection of short stories and poems set in the world of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. Jacobson wrote in Carroll's own voice so faithfully that it genuinely reads like a lost chapter of the original. New characters, new details, new corners of Wonderland that Carroll himself never explored.
That would be amazing. And all that made me think of though was trying to write essays and then getting told that they're mostly AI generated after having spent hours upon hours writing a paper.
That is quite
It's like,
frustrating.
"Oh, you did such a great job." It had to be a robot. It can't be that you've been educated for 20 years, like,
Yes.
of active schooling.
Right? Well, Jacobson then hid 3 separate riddles inside of it. 3 different puzzles, 3 different treasure caches filled with gold, silver, rubies, sapphires, and emeralds. Solve a riddle, claim the corresponding cache. He
Scratch.
created it. He created it specifically as a pandemic treasure hunt. Fully armchair, like the Merlin mystery. No physical travel is required. No boots on the ground. No shovels. You solve it entirely from home, which feels perfectly suited to a book about sitting in a particular tea party and working out what on earth is going on around you.
Have any of those been solved?
Two of the three have been claimed, which means right now, as we record this, one cache of treasure is still out there. One riddle is still unsolved, and anyone who picks up the book can take a shot at it.
Give me the ring.
Jacobson Jacobson has said the final riddle wasn't designed to be harder than the others. It just happens to be proving to be a little more elusive, which is very interesting distinction. I mean, the difficulty isn't built in. The solution is there. It's findable by the right person reading it the right way. It's just simply waiting for the right person to see it.
Right. And I love that it's just sitting, like, on a shelf somewhere. It's so weird to think about. You could order it tonight and just be a
Yes.
treasure hunter, and then
A-
fine, that's crazy.
Absolutely. For just under $20, one of those precious caches of metal and precious metals and gems could be yours.
Could be yours.
But there's something that ties all four of these books together that I keep coming back to. Kit Williams, Byron Preiss, Jonathan Gunson, David Jacobson. They all understood the same thing, that the most captivating thing you can do with a story is make the reader believe the story isn't finished, that there's something still to be found, something real waiting for the right person. Masquerade sold 2 million copies worldwide, not because people loved picture books about hares, rabbits. It sold 2 million copies because people believed, genuinely, that if they looked carefully enough, they would be the one to crack it. Even me, as a 12-year-old child. Of course, at that time, I didn't realize that it had already been solved.
Yeah.
That that same feeling drove generations of people to parks in Cleveland and Boston with theories and shuffles. It drove 30,000 people to submit answers to a wizard's puzzle. And it's still sending people down rabbit holes on forums at 2 in the morning, convinced they're one insight away from the answer. And that's the real treasure, isn't it? Not the golden hair or the ceramic cask or the jeweled wand. It's the feeling that this world still contains hidden things, that if you pay attention, something extraordinary might reveal itself. Kit Williams knew that when he spent 2 years painting those 15 pictures. He just wanted people to look and look and look again. And that threshold between the answer and the solution is where all the interesting things live. For those of you who have been inspired to hunt for these treasures, I will link all four of the books in the show notes, along with a more complete list of armchair treasure hunts, both active and historical, for anyone who wants to keep going down this particular rabbit hole. Pun fully intended.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
But also amazing. That was such a fun episode.
Thanks. I had a lot of
So you
fun
said
working on it.
you're gonna have extra ones that people can look at
Yes,
in
I'm gonna
the,
put yeah, I forgot to finish copying it over to YouTube, but I will make sure that it's all there in the show notes, by the end of this evening or tomorrow morning at the latest. So,
exciting.
you got anybody in your chats? I do not have anybody over here.
Nope.
Not today. Okay. Well, what you got for us next week?
I am going to bring back again more crazy government shit
Woo!
similar to MK Ultra. I'll be talking about Operation Paperclip, and I keep finding myself back in this realm, and it just speaks to me. It's just
Yeah. For you,
I
it's
will
the
veer off.
government. For
I
me,
veered
it's
off a couple
aliens.
of times. Exactly. And one and the same in a way.
Well, I'm looking forward to that because that is a fascinating subject that I think will be very intriguing.
Yes, yes. It is another one of those do the ends justify the means
Probably
stories.
not.
I don't always think so. But it is fascinating how often that topic comes up. It's
Mhm.
there's always a weird ethical dilemma in these cases.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could bring something a little more whimsical in between all of our
Yeah.
chaos and creepiness that we typically go into. But as I said, if any of you are interested in these, I loved Masquerade and The Secret. I loved pouring through the images and the poems, and I can't wait to get the Merlin and the Mad Tea Party because I actually haven't read those two. But and I will
Every
make sure
time
that I post that list for the rest of you.
every time you said masquerade, my brain went to Phantom of the Opera, and I was like, "Masquerade! Painted faces on parade! Masquerade!"
Oh,
Ugh,
that's awesome.
it was so difficult to not do 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 little trumpeting fanfare.
I
But,
love it.
on that note, we appreciate all of you for liking and sharing and tuning in on your Wednesday nights. We appreciate all of you hanging out with us.
And we look forward to seeing you next time.
So stay curious.
Stay strange and keep listening for the Liminal
The liminal
Echoes.
echoes.
Doo-doo-doo-doo. Please follow us on Kick, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Liminal Echoes Pod, on X at Liminal Echoes _. Or if you have any questions, comments, or story suggestions, you can email us at liminalechoespod@gmail.com. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye.